Hi, I'm Drew Hutchison. You're tuned to Local Bias. We're coming to you from the beautiful studios of E-Media on Pleasant Street in East Hampton in the Eastworks building. I highly recommend this organization to anybody who has a voice and they'd like to share it with their community. It's meaningful and it's fun. My guest today is Karl Meyer.
Drew?
For the umpteenth time.
There you go. I'd like to bore you once again. I'm here to try to wag the dog.
You know, I'm so agitated and I need you to calm me down.
So
and your dulcet tones and your homilies, it'll all just do the job.
I'm here to center you. I'm here to center you.
Speaking of centering, there's such a thing known as grounding. We walk outside, and if you're barefoot and you touch the earth, you are connected with the earth, and it's grounding. And it's something that I do almost every day, even in the winter. I go out and walk in the snow. So I believe in grounding. You talk to me about your thoughts on grounding.
All I needed to do is give you a little kernel and you're running with it. We're going to do a couple things on this show. We're going to start with something about ground truth, which I think is sorely lacking in the world. And we are right here as we tape here in East Hampton Media, Local Bias. Tomorrow is Earth Day.
Yeah.
We are in the middle of Library Week, just so everybody knows that, and libraries are under assault, and our rights to speech and books and information. And 2 days from now is Massachusetts Right Whale Day, and we can probably get into a little bit of that. So let's talk about Earth Day and how we're doing, and we're doing pretty horribly.
Oh no! You say that with a smile, Karl.
We, it's here we are, Earth Day, and we are at war, and we'll get more deeply into that, but we also have a president who wants to throw away the planet, and just irregardless of generations that are to come, we're gonna base everything right now, throw everything we can into oil, into fossil fuels.
But the thing is that it's basically talking about the right whale. There used to be a whaling industry, and that's where we got our oil from. And they went kicking and screaming into the dustbin of history. And that's where the oil industry is right now. Because of what's going on in Iran, and with oil prices going up, that's just a further incentive for the smart countries to get their act together and to go more towards renewables. And already there are countries that are getting a significant portion of their energy through renewables. So does it suck for right now? It does. But what's scarier is that the news I was just reading is that the generals basically refused to drop a nuke on Iran, that Trump wanted to nuke them.
Well, I don't want to go around the bend too far with this, Drew. I mean, I don't spend a whole lot of time on social media.
Okay, so we'll touch that later.
I sort of, and the whales are not gone yet. And, as we look at this, I mean, Trump is all in. We are now the biggest producer of fossil fuels in the world right now. We're the biggest exporter. And here we are, little old Massachusetts. And how are we doing as a state? Not particularly well.
Right.
I mean, not particularly well. I guess I'll go with a little bit of good news or some sort of unusual news, okay?
Okay.
I talked to Ken Sprankle, who's the Connecticut River coordinator. People know me a little bit about, I run my mouth about the Connecticut River, know a lot about it. There are a few shad were lifted at Holyoke, 2 or 3 in the last week. So this is around the 14th and 15th of April. It's a little early, but we used to have these great runs coming up the river. I saw my first hummingbird 2 days ago. Is that great news? Not really. That's really sort of bizarre. In this ornamental cherry tree, right? There's a hummingbird that's
Isn't
at
that
least
a little
2
early?
weeks. Yeah. There aren't even enough bugs around. There aren't enough flowers to sort of keep things going.
But nature has its own way of figuring out what it needs to do.
Yeah, but not in the face of our crushing environment. I mean, our environment is tanking, and we have responsibility as our generation to sort of, this is our problem, all right? We were handed a planet that was in roughly okay shape, right?
Right.
And there are the last 2 or 3 generations came along, we just kept taking more and more. We just became consumer after consumer. The Commonwealth, all of a sudden, we are following Trump down the happy path of we're going to do AI, we're going to have new nuclear plants, according to our Governor Healy. All of the above is the new thing. what do? We have Lotto, we have cannabis. She's been we have cannabis grow houses. That's one of the biggest climate suckers on the planet. Just the energy to grow pot indoors. Grow your pot outside, for God's sakes, right? Governor Healy is taking money from online DraftKings. She took.
Right.
I mean, we are just doing a miserable
The thing is, she's
job.
not going to have any real opposition. She doesn't have to take money.
What? No, absolutely not. But that's how it works. And the other problem is Massachusetts. We have the worst public records access out of all 50
Which
states.
is so
I think we were
ironic.
number 2 or 3.
Right.
There was something in the paper today about the district attorney Sullivan would not release the names of police officers that have been charged. We don't get this information anymore, right? And right now we have.
What it shows you, and I hate to say this, but there's a problem with single party rule. And even though I am a lefty liberal Democrat, Massachusetts is harmed by not having a strong opposition of integrity.
And it doesn't have to be the corporate Republicans either.
Right, well, that's what I'm saying, because what's happened in this country is that the wealth junkies, since Citizens United, Harlan Crow, have put so many billions of dollars into buying elections. It's almost impossible to defeat them.
It's rich corporate Citizens United.
Right.
That is
so we don't have a loyal opposition. The Republican Party is part of a criminal syndicate at this point, operating at the behest of the wealth junkies.
Plus, we have crypto. We have dark money, which is, the favorite of organized crime, porno, the whole thing. Child.
Yeah, all the stuff that can be. Don't look over here. Look over there.
Exactly.
In fact, they're always pointing the fingers.
Yeah. So I am a big fan too. We're in agreement on this, Drew.
Well,
I want Diane DiZoglio to be able to audit the legislature, the three branches
wasn't that voted
of
for?
It was by the people, right? By we the people.
So the ugly truth of referendums is that they get ignored.
Yeah.
And there's no consequence.
Yeah. Well, rule of law. We don't have any. Let me jump back just a little bit to Earth Day or whatever. We are entering the 9th year of the Northfield Mountain Pump Storage Station upstream on the Connecticut River, about 30 miles up from here. The deadliest, most killing-ish machine, the most energy-sucking, not hydro machine on the Connecticut River. In 2016, public sector pension investments, global giant corporation, this goes back to Citizens United, they can come in, buy the thing 2 years before the license is up, and then turn their backs on all that work that some of us were doing as part of the federal process. It's 9 years later, they have not put a cent into putting new flow into the river, new infrastructure to pass fish, which should have been passing there since 1980 had we built the right infrastructure.
They may be shareholders, but they're not stakeholders.
Oh, no.
They don't care.
No, this is about AI in some ways. It's about algorithms, and that's half of our problem. Is we have allowed ourselves to be part of the machinery as consumers, right? We are all basically, that's what they think of us, right? So right now we are, and the little towns, Franklin County towns, Montague, Greenfield is another stakeholder, Gill, Northfield. We were all supposed to be getting tax dollars for them. Public sector pension investments, which owns First Light Power, which is sort of the nameplate on these things, they have sucked back as much taxes as they can because PSP investments, $250 billion, I think, London, Tokyo, I forget where they are. They're probably closer to 300 bill now. It's investment, right? It's just investor-owned kind of stuff. They have clawed back. Their motto to their clients is, we promise to pay the minimum amount of tax always. Mm-hmm. And they have done that here. And they have also, as long as they don't sign a license, it's like printing money. It's like printing $150 million from Northfield Mountain sales every year and killing the river.
It's amazing that there couldn't be an injunction or something.
Drew, when you have K Street lawyers, when you have Boston lawyers, Foley Ho got me kicked out mostly out of the water quality, contesting the water quality certificate because I don't have the money clearly to. Even
though you're a recognized federal intervener.
Oh yeah, but they sort of pushed me aside, and then the rest of it is going down. Connecticut River Watershed Council, American Rivers, they're all there's another group. They're like Earth First kind of people. Anyway, they're all now, they're negotiating a little bit. They're going to get this little tiny bit, but they're negotiating under non-disclosure agreements,
Right.
which should be
Illegal.
absolutely illegal. So we're not in a great place here, Earth Day, and if we had more public records, if we had enforcement, if we, right now, I went over to, the Turners Falls Canal, and you've been over to the Rock Dam, which
you took me there.
Our famous short-nosed Connecticut River, federally endangered short-nosed sturgeon,
Which
come to spawn every year. And I don't like to sort of pick out individual iconic species because this is always about the whole river. It's about blueback herring. It's about American shad. It's about sea lamprey. Everything that should be able to pass there. But the short-nosed sturgeon is supposed to have some sort of special status, right? And they are there right now. They're literally, the males have come up the river. They're waiting for the females to come. And there are not a lot of them, right? You walk down there right now, the whole control of that thing, there's nothing natural, up and down, mostly controlled from a plant that is 7 miles upstream.
Right.
It's controlled even from inside that mountain. And the other thing that is sitting there is, by the way, when you walk down here, this is a combined sewer flow biological infection site, right? This is a CSO site. And, I was wondering for the longest time, why Andrew Fisk, when he was the Watershed Council's director, wouldn't come down and do the water testing there, because there's this ugly red manganese ooze slime actually coming down the walls, which I've been complaining about, which is infiltration from the power canal, which is actually a little bit higher level. And it's
water flows downstream.
It's the diverted river, right? So now I understand why they wouldn't do the water quality testing, but this is an abomination. And these are the people that are negotiated for a water quality certificate, under in the dark of night. So there you go. So that's the bad news. The good news is, let me see. I was up along Clarkdale Archers. There's a whole nice run of trout lily coming out. So, a lot of our wildflowers are coming out, but it's a little too soon. I was a little worried about the blooms on some of the flowering apples and peaches.
We had, was it 4 or 5 years ago, we lost an entire crop of apples and peaches.
Yeah, so our little wonky planet is, it's up to us. I mean, it really is. It's up to us individually. Stop thinking of yourself as a consumer, right?
Well, they want us to be consumers, Karl. That's exactly how we're programmed. From the time we're born to the time we die, we're treated as consumers.
Yeah. So I don't know if we should, I want to get into the whole oil bit about this. We're in a war over those resources.
Is it even that, though? Or is it just that the guy, Trump, is batshit crazy?
No, he's not. He's an exquisite predator. He's an exquisite predator that talks out of both sides of his mouth. But this is about resources, right? This is about resources. And if we're in a war for oil, we each need to look at ourselves and what would you actually do? What would be your ground truth thing to do if we're in a war for oil? How could you respond as a consumer? What would be one thing you could do?
Well, you do your best not to use oil.
You could drive less.
Right.
You could drive, you could take one, you're going to get into the whole bit. I got down here today on a bus and a bicycle.
Right. You actually, and thank you.
On a bus and a bicycle. And I do it all the time, and I never see people I know that have...
Okay, well, there's no bus or bicycle up to the hills of Ashfield that I have to drive every day.
You can never figure out how to drive less. There's no way that you could drive any less.
In fact, I make a point of not even leaving the house if I don't have to.
So here's one way to do it. If the price of oil went up 20%, pick a day and don't drive. But don't pick an easy day to not drive. Figure out another way to go and not drive. I mean, I look at all these, we're supposed to have protests. We're supposed to respond. We don't take response. We're waiting for somebody else to tell us, okay, this is going to be how we're going to do it. No, it is.
We have to do it.
It is up to you.
Right.
And, I keep sort of throwing this back out, but somebody marched for the rights and the democracy that we had. Somebody died for that.
Yes.
Right? And, I keep thinking back to the 1960s and the Montgomery bus boycott. Mm-hmm. Those people walked for a year. They made it harder on themselves. We have no idea what sacrifice is anymore. Most of us push a cursor around, and we're going to have...
Well, isn't the way we're all waiting for that one group of special people with courage to be the tipping point?
That's it. So here we are, Drew.
So we need to be the tipping point.
We are here to wag the dog. And, I guess I'll tell this story pretty quick. I went to see our friend Pocky just a day and a half before she was going to leave us. And I was a little apprehensive. I said, her friend Barbara called and said, you should come now. I don't know how she's going to be. I walked in and Pocky was comfortable within her Pocky self, right there, full of good humor, and we had this wonderful talk for about 10 minutes, maybe 15. I couldn't remember. It was one of those beautiful, just before spring, those beautiful couple of days there. The last question that Pocky had for me is, so what kind of good trouble are you planning?
Amen.
And I said to her, listen, this is what I think, and I'm sort of jumping the gun here, but we were going to do a little bit about calling the question. I said, I am going to keep jumping up and down and saying, we need to get to Washington, D.C. We cannot have no Kings 1, no Kings 2, no Kings 3. There's going to be a May Day thing in a couple of weeks. They're happy to see us march in place. They're happy to sort of see us do the same thing over and over again. Donald Trump loves that because all we are doing is he gets to mock us and sit there and do nothing. And there is no end to the dastardly trickery and hatefulness that is going to be preached right up to the beginning of this November election. And everybody is worried about it. And then they're talking about saying we're going to change things in November. Trump doesn't want you to be able to vote in November.
Right.
And so what I said to Pocky, I said, I'm gonna keep making my noise about saying it's time for us to go to Washington before September is done, so that the door does not get closed, and put them on notice that this is our Constitution, this will be our vote, these are the fair elections that we have historically had, and in front of the Supreme Court, either they're afraid of him or we will be protesting him, and in front of the White House, we're going to reclaim our country and say, this is who we are, and this is where it stops. And if we don't do that, Drew, I honestly think we don't have the luxury, we don't have the right to roll the dice into November. We have to hand off democracy to the people that handed it off to us.
Are there any plans?
This is why we're talking about it now. I brought it up to Jim McGovern sort of personally and on the air at least 3 times now. We're talking about it right now, Drew.
Well, but there are organizations. There was 1 million women that marched on Washington, D.C.
I have talked in front of these organizations in Franklin County. I keep raising the question. I am just putting it out there. I am one person, but I am not.
So what's the response you're getting?
Drew,
milk toast?
I am just, we're having the response right now. The response is, I'm going to keep calling the question is what this is. You know, you've been to town meetings.
Yes, I know.
And you understand?
Yes.
Well, that's what it's time to do.
Right.
It's not time to call another, I just read today about the May Day thing, and it's going to be about 5 different, whatever, Medicare, tyranny, this, that, and the other thing. It's got to be about our rights and the Constitution. We have to focus, all right? We have been the Platte River, a mile wide and an inch deep. We need to be a mile deep and an inch wide and say, this is our democracy. We're going to keep it, and we're going to hand it off to the people that come after us. Where do we go from here? But I'm calling the question, and I want you to start calling the question, and I want people out there to start calling the question.
One reason I have you on the program is because you are one of these people that does light a fire.
So
we need to...
might have some paper here.
Blow the smoke, get it?
Yes. But, it is not up to us to let this go. Right. It is not up to us to let this go. And we have lived really comfortable lives. I keep going back to something that Claire Chang, who you know well, who you've had on the program, Solar Store, she said this to me once, and it was just so emblematic. she goes, I was watching this movie and it was about Louis XIV or something, and the king is riding down in this gilded coach in 9. And she just said, wow, imagine living like that. And then she said, well, we actually kind of do live like that.
We do.
I mean, getting here, I could have taken a 2-ton or 3-ton vehicle down here to accomplish what 1 horse might have done, right? A couple of 100 horsepower. We need that just to do an errand. I mean, we just do not look at reality. Meanwhile, we are at war. We are at war, and we're talking about the Academy Awards and March Madness and stuff. And we are sitting here as comfortable as hell.
Right.
And the day after Trump sort of did his little rah-rah, we invaded them, we bombed the hell out of them, I don't watch TV, and most of the time my computer sound is turned off, but I had to listen to him. And it was so denigrating the way he treated the press in this big press conference. And the other bizarre thing I watched him do, or heard him do at this point, I might have turned off the video, was he described, there was a women's march in Iran a year ago or so. And of course, they're a repressive regime. We all have to hate them, but meanwhile we're sending civilizations to their death. So Trump described how they got the women's to break up their march because they stationed a few snipers around. And Trump seemed to take great sort of fascination at describing how they have great snipers and have these terrific rifles, and all of a sudden a woman would get it right in the eyes from somewhere. You'd hear a hush in the crowd. And then another one over there. And this is how you do it. And he seemed so fascinated, and it was almost like pornographic.
Well, he's a
the way
sociopath.
he described it. And it's a message to what? To women?
Yes.
It's a message
Anybody
about,
that would oppose him.
and it's a message to what might happen here.
Right.
I mean,
They want us afraid, Carl.
Yeah. Afraid and hateful.
So
if you're afraid, then you can get you to hate people. Find some punch down.
And quite frankly, we shouldn't be hating either.
It's always punching down.
We need to love.
Yeah.
Including all these people that are misinformed and are clueless. There's a bell curve. Not all the people are as bright as everybody else. So
I wouldn't even call it bright. I would just say informed.
Right.
I don't go for that. There are certain there's ways to be.
But we are programmed. Who put the cult in culture? Humans have a tendency to want to belong to a particular tribe. They identify with this group of people. And what happens is that if you all of a sudden go against the mores of that group, then you can be ostracized, and that's kind of like a death in a way. It's like being exiled. People don't have the courage to do that. A lot of people don't.
Why?
Well, because we're humans. We're used to having
half of our lives are spent electrified. We do not walk out of the house without electricity, right? Do not, and our lives are vicarious.
But we're still monkeys that want to belong to our other monkey people.
Our lives are vicarious. And yet we want to think that our children and their grandchildren are going to have safe lives and be safe and live in a free country.
Well, that's what true conservatism should be, by the way, Carl.
So,
a conservative should want to leave the world a better place for the future generations. I mean, what's more conservative than that?
True. I can't disagree with you here. Maybe off camera. I don't know. But I just we have a responsibility to pass along, a democracy to whatever extent, and it's going to take a while if we get it back. But I really do. I want to call the question, Drew.
Right.
It's time to call the question and say we need to be there. We need to go where the war is being waged from. We need to face it. And you know what? That puts some skin in the game. But if we do not act with a little bit of fervor and a little bit of chutzpah right now, we can. How do you live with yourself?
People rationalize. So
I don't really want to know how you. That was rhetorical, Drew. I do not.
But how many millions already did march in No Kings? And they did. It does make a difference. I mean, there is, because what happens is when you go to No Kings and you see a lot of your neighbors and friends, people you don't know from your community, going out there and saying, "Hey, we think this should be stopped. We should not have a tyrant running our country. We're not okay with this." when you see so many people coming together for that message, it's like, hey, I'm not the only one that sees how ridiculous this is.
I understand that, Drew. The times dictate a little more courage, a little more courage. It is not a time to say, okay, we have time to build this, right?
Right.
We had, I
Well,
think,
what about a general strike?
All right, you want my ideas on a general
yes.
strike?
Let me hear.
People work from home. People work from
that's
home.
true.
Unions are a very small part of the society, right? And the people that would be most vulnerable to a general strike are the people that are doing the work for us, the people that are doing the field work and the machine work and cutting up our meat in processing houses or whatever, who can least afford it, and they're the people that we have ignored forever. A general strike would be another sort of mile-wide, inch deep. You know what makes more sense? Boycott oil.
Right.
Stop buying, there's this whole thing, stop buying this place. Use cash. Mm-hmm. Stop being your algorithm. Have a use cash week. You want to stop them from sort of understanding what's going on? You want to sort of gum up the works? Stop becoming your algorithm. Stop adding to our surveillance society.
Well, that's a whole other issue.
Well, that is a whole other issue. But I'm saying, you want to do this? Then stop. Use cash. Use cash.
Well, and Karl, you're probably aware that they're hoping to get rid of cash.
Well, I know that's the whole crypto business, right? We have a president that is becoming richer by the day. And
Hunter Biden made $15 million from Burisma or whatever, right?
You know what he does? Trump has somebody deliver some McDonald's and gives them a $100 tip, and we're going to give tip workers no tax on their tip. This is how you get people that are living on the margins or do not have real gainful employment to think that I care about.
Well, they asked her, how much do you make? And she said $22,000, so she wouldn't be taxed on that anyway.
That's about my gross income too, Drew. As a matter of fact,
mine was less than
live simply so that others may simply live. Our lifestyles are way out of proportion to what energy we make in Massachusetts. I did a little piece in one of not the Recorder, but another smaller paper, the Montague Reporter, and I compared the amount of energy that's wasted at Northfield every year. There's and they wasted 827,000 gross kilowatts of power, which is more than the energy generated. The only true hydropower generated is on the Turners Falls Power Canal Cabot Station, right? That's actual
hydro.
The other stuff, the 100 billion, I think it was 9 zeros coming after that. How much energy, how much greenhouse gas killing natural gas it took to push that water up there. So it left over all that. So basically they wasted enough energy. They killed all the hydropower, which would have been enough to just baseline run all the houses in Franklin County, right? About 37,000 houses. But that doesn't do anything to run a factory, to run a business, to run stoplights, to run pollution controls, to run the lotto at your local candy store, to run the street lights.
We've run out of time, Karl.
We have run out of time, Drew. But you know what? Before we run out of time, I want to do a couple things here, just really quick. The whole thing is consume less. If you really want to do this, right? If you want to impact what they want, because they just want us to consume. And what's the other thing? Live simply. No, the last thing, Drew, we're going to call the question, all right? We need to go to Washington, D.C. before September is up, because the dark days of November, there is no end to what kind of hatred and what kind of deep fake stuff they're going to be trying on us. We need to take back the country before then. Otherwise, we are gambling with a future that is not ours to gamble with.
Right. Well, Karl, thank you for coming on and sharing your
Thanks for having our little rant here.
Well, anyway, thank you.
My pleasure.
And thank you for joining us. My guest has been Karl Meyer, who is one of the most interesting people that I ever have on the program, full of passion, and I hope that it spreads, because we need everybody picking up and working together to make a better future for all of us. Thank you very much for joining me. Take care.